thanks in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Member Jackson. Apologies for absence. We have an apology from Member Warmington. Any other apologies for absence? Apologies for absence? Apologies for absence. Close. Members, let me welcome you to this sitting of the Joint Select Committee to examine this proposal of establishing Portmore as our 15th parish. This process started some time ago, in November of last year when this committee was first established, and we have had a series of meetings and consultations. And I must say that despite us not agreeing at all times on the matter or on different issues, I must say that I am pleased that we were able to do some good work and really appreciative of the contributions from the different members of this committee as well as the public. Of course, I want to say, you know, how grateful we are as a Committee of Parliament as relates to the quality of support that we have gotten, especially from the team here at Parliament and, of course, the other supported agencies that continue to facilitate and to guide us in this process. Members, I believe that we have done well. And I think that we just need to, you know, see how best we can complete the work that we were assigned and move forward. And as Member Jackson stated earlier, you know, asking God's guidance that the decisions that we make will be in the best interests of our country and the people that we serve. So welcome members and members of staff and supporting staff members to this sitting. We go straight into the reading and confirmation.
Mr. Chair, before you proceed, I would like to make a comment on procedural matters.
Go ahead, Member.
Mr. Chairman, by way of the standing order and my own experience in this Parliament over the many years, couple decades, when the Parliament goes on recess, all the parliamentary engagements automatically go on recess until the Parliament resumes from recess. And as I have understood it, is that the summer recess allow members to make plans, private plans, without having the obligation of being in Parliament during that period. So once the Parliament goes on recess, no one is expected to be available for sitting, except in circumstances of urgent matters for which the Parliament needs to meet on and to make a decision on. And we have had occasions in the past where the recess had to be, we had to break the recess, deal with the matter, the recess resume until when it resumes as is expected. It was very surprising to me that a meeting of a committee was scheduled before the Parliament resumes from the summer break. I sit on a couple other joint select committees like ZOZO, which is of national importance, the one that dealing with the review of the ZOZO bill. I'm sitting on the joint select dealing with the review of the Electricity Act, which affects all of Jamaica. All those committees and others that I don't sit on but I'm aware of, schedule no resume meeting until after the break was over. And for some miraculous reason, a committee dealing with a proposal to consider a matter like Portmore, was the members were asked to break from their summer. I could imagine if the committee was going to meet to deal with some urgent repairs of some roads in Portmore, or to deal with the untenable garbage collection in Portmore, that and in fact the committee don't have that remit. So I have a problem with that. And yes, I was absent during that period, and I was absent because I never planned to be here during the summer break. I planned to be here after the summer break. So I just want to put that on record, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman.
I noted Member Jackson, but we had a discussion on this matter, and I don't think we need to prolong, but we note your point. So we are at item 5, the reading of the minutes. The minutes, it was circulated, I believe, earlier last week and earlier this week. Some assuming members got the opportunity to read the minutes. In fact, this minute was not circulated during the recess period, so I'm sure that we read it. Correct, Member Jackson? Any corrections? Any corrections? Correction amendments? Omission? We had correction to the minutes, Member Morris. Unless you are going to speak to that at this time, you will have to yield. So we had correction to the minutes. Let us.
Mr. Chair, I don't understand why you're jumping over me like that.
I just have to guide you. You always need guidance, and I'm here to guide you.
I take very much offense to it.
My apologies, sir. It was not intended to cause any offense.
Mr. Chair, in the minutes, I think where there's a section there on recommendation, I saw a slight...
Which page is that again, member? Remind me.
Unfortunately, Mr. Chair, I left my thumb drive, so I don't have it ready. I'm just going by memory. But I saw an error there where it said it's the or something to that effect. And it should read it's. But I think it's under the recommendation section. The clerk, what they need to do is just read it over. But I saw that error there.
Is it the minutes or the report?
The minutes. The minutes. I was reading the minutes this morning.
Members, could you assist me in locating that section of the minutes that the member is referring to?
Look at the section. I think it was dealing with recommendations. In the minutes? Yeah. No, man, it's in the minutes that I saw that error. Oh, and I left my thumb drive, you know, and because... No, that error I saw was in the minutes because I read it this morning. But it's not a major error. I just saw where it had its and then the after it, and it should just have its.
Thank you, Member Morris, for that observation. We'll have to locate it and correct him.
Let me see if I can find it.
Any other corrections, members? Any other corrections? Any other corrections? It's kind of a motion for us to accept the minutes. Moved by Member Campbell Rodriguez, seconded by Member Davis. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Matters arising from the minutes. Yes, Member Jackson.
In the last meeting, for which I was absent, the minutes reflect in the second paragraph of page 3. The chairman then, that motion, Mr. Chairman, that was moved at the last meeting for the committee to take a vote on the proposal. A grave error was made then, and I think the committee has an opportunity to correct it. The motion that came from the full House to this committee Joint Select Committee to consider the proposal, we set out to obtain submissions from all the various stakeholders, and we ourselves make input in the deliberations as members. Upon taking the recommendations from the stakeholders and the technical staffs of the various ministries and agencies, we then proceed to develop a matrix, which is really a collection of those presentations made from the various bodies. Out of that matrix, a report is generated. So the committee would have the benefit of examining the presentations which are made and then to make recommendations. And as I understand it, the reason why the committees operate that way is to make sure that the decisions we make by way of recommendations or observations, or they are informed by the facts. They are informed by the various presentations, perspectives, etc., by the persons that appear before us. Thereafter, the committee, in its report, put together a set of recommendations which we table in the full House. This motion in the last meeting savaged that procedure, ravaged it, and in fact put the cart before the horse. You make the decision before you examine the facts and then arrive at conclusions and recommendations. The recommendations is ours to be made. And it's on the basis of the majority decision. But there's a procedure to say to the public, upon examining these presentations, we have come to this conclusion. We made a conclusion before we examined the report. That was a major breach. I've never seen that in any committee of any administration in this parliament. This is an established procedure in every parliament, in fact, at least in the Commonwealth, that I'm aware of. So it was a grave error. I don't know if it was an oversight or it was extra zealousness on the part of members, but I think for the records and for posterity, the committee has an opportunity to correct that. A report is now before the committee that we can decide on any recommendations we want. And the majority, put it bluntly, the majority will always carry. That opportunity is not lost. But for heaven's sake, don't breach the parliamentary procedures.
Mr. Chairman, may I?
Go ahead, member.
I listened to Member Jackson, and may I make the suggestion? We went through before I make the suggestion, let me just state, we went through the matrix in the last meeting. I think because Member Jackson was not here, he probably didn't realize we had gone through the matrix. I agree that the report is now before us. May I suggest, Mr. Chairman, that we go through the report now and we take the vote over? Only because, Mr. Chairman, the end result is not going to differ, but if it will facilitate the process of process and procedure, I think we need to do it. So I'm suggesting we retake the vote at the end of the meeting.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, I support the recommendation from Senator Campbell Rodriguez.
That's a point. After recommitted, there should be a correction.
Yes, and Mr. Chairman, I have to ask for recommittal of the minutes because I know. Allow me now. Okay. I noted late that the minutes reflected, and I don't know if it is that at the moment I didn't indicate. I believe I was virtual at the time. or didn't indicate properly, but that certainly was not my intention at the time to abstain. So I would be grateful, and in keeping with the...
It is important.
Want to have it, well, if I did not properly indicate, then I won't change what is there, but what I'm saying now is going to be recorded as well. And if it is that the recommendation is accepted for us to have a vote at this time, I certainly would wish to correct that error on my part. It wouldn't properly reflect my position on the matter.
Noted, Member Golden Campbell. Member Jackson, you know, while I'm not averse to us revisiting the matter after examining the report and even putting it to a vote again, I believe that at the point when the matter was moved, it was part of the process of compiling the report and giving an indication as to the sentiments of the members. And of course, when that is captured in the minutes, and we are now, in the report, the draft report, and we are now looking at examining the draft report, then, it will be up for discussion and for us to even vote to finalize same. So the draft report and us voting at that point was to capture the sentiments. And I believe that procedurally, that forms part of the process of ensuring that the report is done in a manner that reflects the mood of the committee. I believe that once we have examined the report, that we can have a final vote, which is more or less equivalent to us signing off on the report, members. And just for us, thereafter, whatever decision is made to formalize it when we individually sign or not sign the report. All right? So, members, let us move to item 7 to the review of the committee's report. The report was circulated and is before us. Are there any matter or anything from the report that anyone would want to speak to or to correct? I must start by commending the clerk and her team for this very comprehensive report. The report, I believe, is very balanced and it captures, I would say, everything that came before us. And so, members, the draft report is before us, and the floor is now open for any question on this report before us.
Just procedurally, Chairman, are we going to go through it on a page-by-page basis? Or just one? Because there's some corrections to be made.
You can just go ahead. Just list your corrections.
But if I want all of us to be on the same page so there's no repetition. On the second page, in the second paragraph, in the 5th line, I am proposing an amendment where it reads, Portmore to gain autonomy and self-governance. I want to insert comma, and which was granted in 2003. I don't have...
Again, page 2.
Page 2, second paragraph, the 5th line.
Okay.
Just an insertion.
Okay, I think we can agree to that. Right?
It is just a question which might be simple, but on page 5.
No, we're just doing page. Oh. We are page 2. Okay. Let us do page 2.
Okay.
So Member Jackson noted.
On that same page, in that same paragraph, I think we want to say should become the 15th parish. So just add the TH to the 15.
Okay. All right.
Fine? In the same paragraph. Yeah, just add the TH, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Member Jackson.
On the next page, page 3, in the third paragraph, in the second line, one of the council for each of the 12 electoral, you just insert of the each of the 12 electoral division, and I think the D should be in capital D, and you pluralize that. We're all fine? Okay. On the, well, I'm going to the 6th. I think Member Campbell has something on the 5th. Okay. On the 6th page, in the first paragraph, just insert on the 4th line, took the form of virtual town meetings. Just insert the word virtual. Okay. I think on the 3.0, that first paragraph, in the third line, do we think we want to, it would read, broadly describes the existing parishes in Jamaica and their names, and includes a requirement for them to have a parish town. I think that follows from the narrative earlier. The third line. Yeah.
As outlined earlier in this report, the Counties and Parishes Act 1867 broadly describes the existing parishes in Jamaica and their names, and includes a requirement for them to have a parish town.
That was
I don't think
earlier.
it includes. It doesn't include a requirement. The Act speaks to a parish town.
Okay, I thought
the Act did not definitively state that you need to have a parish town. It just, the Act of 1867 spoke to the boundaries of the parish and also the boundaries of a township or capital. It did not specifically state that it must have. And I thank you for that. So we have to change that. It did not speak to that. And we can now look at the Act of 1867.
Well, I happen to have left my handwritten notes on this section. I won't belabor it because I left my notes.
I think that is a correction that we should have right here.
As an extrapolation from the
but
narrative from
you were
that
saying your
earlier.
original correction, member, is whoever no criteria set out in this, however no criteria were set out in this legislation in relation to the specific features that a parish should have, the individual made submission. What is your correction on?
Just to add in and includes a requirement for them, as was I picked up earlier on in the narrative in the same report. So just for completeness, because it says as outlined in this report, right? And then it goes on to say that, but it also said and includes a requirement for them to have a parish.
Yeah.
Well, I won't believe, but that's what I recall.
Yeah,
from
I think the includes a requirement that should be omitted.
Because I put a
It more speaks to boundaries rather than the requirement for them to have a town.
Okay.
Because again, a typical example is where we are right now.
Yeah, I put a question mark on it myself because I had some.
So we can remove that part. Okay. Go ahead, Member Jackson. Continue.
In the last paragraph on that page, where it says, I think you just want to insert after Portmore Municipality. So it read Portmore Municipality as issued, rather than say Portmore as issued.
Yeah, municipality.
As issued over that building.
The Portmore Municipal Council.
Yeah. But just be a bit more descriptive on the word Portmore.
Yeah, just say Municipal Council. To be more definitive.
And then immediately below, at the end of the sentence, and send an municipalities, since we're establishing not a reference to.
St. Anne municipalities, okay.
It reads St. James, Clarendon, Trelawney, and St. Anne municipalities.
We need a "they" in front of St. James if we're putting municipalities.
Sure,
at the
sure.
end.
Yeah.
Fine.
The.
Yeah.
Are we finished with page 7?
Yeah.
Page 8. Page 9.
Well, on page 8, where this on the centralized markets, Portmore currently has one market. I would qualify that one small market. Aki Village is a little market.
I don't think we need to qualify it. It is a market. We were not looking at the size.
If we use that,
no. It has a designation as a market and falls under that. Fitz, you're doing very well, you know. You're doing very well.
It's not a contentious
let us,
issue.
yes, but I don't.
You are making it contentious unnecessarily. On that same page, recreational facilities. At the end, it says. It referred to, there were plans to establish a climate change park in Portmore. I just want for the records and for the committee to be aware that there is a park in Greater Portmore in Sabina, right beside the basic school.
I've not been over that side for some time. Refresh.
There is a park there, very well maintained.
Which basic school is that again? I'm trying to.
Greater Portmore Basic.
Oh yes, there's a park.
No, across from 3 East,
yes.
over by 2 West.
Yeah, there's a park there. There's a park in Portmore, and there are a number of other parks as well, but not properly maintained.
One is not properly maintained.
There was one in Edgewater, not properly maintained. Needs to be maintained. So I think, we can safely say that there are parks in Portmore.
There are parks, so
but some of them are in a state of disrepair.
Yeah.
And the matter of the word climate park, the plans were to establish a climate.
It's a major park. That would be a major park.
Yeah,
the climate change park. So I just want it for the records, because if as it is, it would not take note of what actually exists.
And there are a number of community parks as well.
Yes.
Like Portmore Pines, I know. I was part of the process to establish that park in that community. You recall, Member of Parliament.
No, you were next door in Newland, man. You wasn't no part of that. That was a community erected one. I take some credit for it too.
I was a councillor.
All right.
And they voted for me all the time because of my performance.
Portmore Pines was never in your division.
Yes.
No, man.
Yeah, man. Nagwe division.
Oh, yes, at the time. Because I've had so many boundary changes over there. Long before you come around. I've had about 4 constituency boundary changes.
All right, moving on to page 9.
No, but on that, no, seriously though.
No,
in light of what you say though, could we agree on a wording to say, just acknowledge that there are
a number of parks, even though some may be in a state of disrepair.
Yes. Ms. Beckford, are you clear on? Okay, and we'll just go along with that.
Page 9.
Page 9, the first paragraph, decentralized government offices. The SDC was the only government entity which indicated to your committee that it, and I wasn't clear on this, indicate to your committee it commission. I don't know what was intended here. That need to be clear.
Is because the SDC served as a commission. So maybe you say the SDC was government.
But the word in there need fixing.
Okay, we delete commission. We delete commission.
So what will it read now?
SDC was the only government entity which indicated to your committee that it has established an office in Portmore. So you just take out commission.
So delete commission?
Yes.
Okay. 1 second, let me just do that.
Any other?
Yes, yes.
Page 9.
So committee that it, no,
On
could you just
page
read that back for me, please? That to your committee that?
It has established an office.
Okay.
On that same page, Mr. Chairman,
In that paragraph, Nats?
the SDC was the only government entity which indicated to your committee that it has established an office in Portmore.
Okay, but okay, I have something else. I don't have any issue with that. But under the rubric of decentralized government offices, as it is written here, it would reflect that that is the only government office there. And that is not true. You have TAJ, the tax office. You have the Correctional Services Juvenile Office over in Portmore.
That it was the only one that indicated.
Should we put in the word recent? Maybe that would
No,
help.
it has been there for some time. In fact, the SDC office was there before the TAJ.
Oh.
Yeah. No, but I was.
I think members, we can just take out that paragraph and say that there are a number of government
we can name
offices.
Because as it is, it's a decentralized government offices, and then the SDC one is the only one referred to. So if anybody read the report, they would go away thinking that
I think, member, you see, let us, from the second sentence, we can remove all of that and indicate that there are a number of government offices in Portmore.
I wouldn't say number, just say there are other.
Can I give a suggested rewording?
Go ahead.
Your committee was informed that in order to ensure that the residents would not have to travel outside their parish to access certain services, offices of certain critical government entities were established in the existing parishes. Portmore has branches of some of these offices. Just that.
Yeah, that we could be a little bit more specific because we know them.
Right.
SDC being one, TAJ being one, Correctional Services being one, and RGD is another.
And the post office.
Well,
postal services.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're going, you count them. This is very important.
Yeah.
Right. But we just cut out, we were told, however, that we were told from there down and just put in that sentence. Mr. Chairman, on the cemeteries, if Member Jackson is finished with decentralized government offices?
Yeah, I just wanted to make that.
On the cemeteries, I think we need to add something there, because we had the discussion and we faced the reality that Portmore doesn't have a cemetery. But we also spoke about the fact that access to cemeteries is better than some parishes. For example, in Kingston and St. Andrew, most people bury their deads in St. Catherine, not in Kingston. So we need to put a sentence in this to make sure that point is highlighted, that access is available.
I think access is more than readily, available. In fact, the proximity to the two major cemeteries that serves, I believe, even sections of St. Thomas, all the way back into Clarendon. You have persons coming as far as Clarendon to bury their dead in St. Catherine.
May I give a suggested rewording?
Go ahead.
So, all existing parishes have at least one cemetery, with some of the most populous, such as Kingston and St. Andrew and Manchester, having 2 cemeteries each. The Portmore Municipality does not currently have a cemetery. However, it has close access to one of the largest cemeteries in Jamaica, which is utilized. Yes, which is utilized by persons from other parishes. It's very important that we state that clearly. So you can reword that, but that's the basic message we want to get out there, because it's important.
Mr. Chair, what I suggest, just to make it simple. One, it's a fact that there's no cemetery in Portmore for a while and continues. It came up in the discussion to highlight it. What I would just say is that residents of Portmore use cemeteries external to Portmore. Because
I think the suggestion by member
Cameron all over.
No, the suggestion by member Cameron Rodriguez is more fulsome.
Along with that, Sir Chair.
Mr. Chairman, you were a mayor and a councillor, and Madam Rodriguez was a councillor too. Is there any restriction in law as to where anybody dead anywhere must be buried? In other words, somebody dead in... I know many persons in Portmore, in my constituency, come from St. Mary, Portland, Clarendon, all over. And when them dead, that's where them go and bury.
And that Member Jackson supports the argument by Member Cabral. Let us not argue over the dead. And where they want to reside at the end of the day. The dead, properly. I'm sure that the dead doesn't want us to be arguing over where they finally reside.
No, what we are arguing about, Mr. Chairman, is
we are not arguing, Member Jackson.
Okay,
I am not going to argue about the dead.
I was using your choice of words.
But Member Jackson, let us not belabor this point. I believe that the suggestion by Member Campbell Rodriguez is more fulsome. You wanted to make a comment, Member Miller?
Yes, sir, Chair. I'm protecting Member Jackson, just to inform him that I'll go with my colleague member, Senator Rodriguez's point. And it was actually stated in the meeting that we had that persons have access, so it's right to really put it there because it was stated in the meeting and discussed, actually.
I think access would be.
Member Jackson, any more correction?
Yes.
On page 9?
Yes. Parish Court. The one reference here is a small building in Greater Portmore that really deals with family matters, right?
Not only family matters, because I mean, it does more than that.
Yes, it rotates. But the point I want to make is that when you read the rest of the paragraph, which is parish courts were also a feature of existing parishes. Currently, the courthouse in Portmore was an outstation court, which also operates as a night court. It was stated that this could be transformed, and this was the point of concern to me. It was stated that this court could be transformed into a parish court if Portmore was established as a 15th parish. The operative point, Chairman, is that it's a small building with not much land space around it for expansion.
Member Jackson, I understand and I agree with you. I don't think we were specifically making reference to the building itself, but more to the court service. So the establishment of a parish court. Yeah, because we're not looking at it from a physical perspective, because we could just build a large building to accommodate somewhere else. But I agree that place in Greater Portmore is not adequate in terms of space.
So could we word that to say it was stated that this could be transformed into a parish court at an appropriate location?
Fair enough. Fair enough. Page 9. Was it page 10? I don't think there's much on page 10.
Page 10, again, could just insert in this section, economic activities financing. In that second paragraph in that section, just insert municipality after Portmore. That's one. You pick that up, Ms. Beck?
Yes, member. Portmore Municipality. First line, your committee was also informed that they established revenue sources for the Portmore Municipal Council.
Yeah, either one. Yeah, I was in two minds on that.
For the Portmore Municipal Council.
Yeah, Portmore Municipal Council. I have one other correction in that. In the third line, it says tax including penalty and interest, license duties. At the end would mean license fees and not duties.
License fees on motor vehicles.
On motor vehicles. So instead of duties, fees. Isn't that the...
Okay. Okay. Any other correction on page 10?
Just a question. In the section, your committee was further informed that in respect of the amounts that were collected for motor vehicle license, what was the source of that information?
Ministry of Local Government. Yes.
Okay. Okay, I have nothing else on that page.
Page 11.
One second for a little Zoom meeting that I'm having, but I'm not leaving the meeting.
Okay, Member Morris.
But just to indicate that on page 17, mention is made about the Jamaica Foundation for Persons with Disabilities. There's not such a foundation.
Let us just quickly go to page 17 to accommodate Member Morris. It said the persons with disabilities. Under that subheading?
I think it's...
representation was made by a member of your committee. Representation was made by a member of your committee for the needs of persons with disabilities to be taken into consideration and addressed, irrespective of whether or not Portmore becomes a parish. This includes creating for these persons at shelters in times of natural disasters and creating access to the different facilities and buildings in Portmore. I was going through it. Your committee was informed that significant work has been done in Portmore in the past to make the necessary provisions for persons with disabilities. One such example being the prototype shelter facility at the Nagwed Primary School, which was retrofitted in 2013-14 to provide access for persons with disabilities. There has also been in-depth discussions with the Disabilities Foundation of Jamaica.
That is it.
That is it.
Yeah, there is no such.
What is the
Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities.
Oh, Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities. Thank you, member. We go back to page 11. Yes, page 12. (13)
On page 12, on the healthcare services, I'm not sure the tone of that paragraph reflects the tone of what we discussed. So the facts are correct, but the spirit of what we discussed is not reflected. For example, it reads that it's saying that Portmore doesn't have a 24-hour health facility, which is factual. And it says as a result, the residents of Portmore have to travel to either Spanish Town, which comes off as a negative, which is not what we discussed, because we raised the point that from the furthest part in Portmore to either KPH or the Spanish Town Hospital is shorter than the average person in most other parishes to reach their hospital. And I think it is important that the spirit of the discussion is reflected along with the facts.
Okay.
And so we need to reword most of this paragraph to reflect the spirit.
What is that proposed reword?
I didn't rewrite it in my head yet, but for example, I would say, instead of as a result, I would say nonetheless, the residents of Portmore travel a short distance to Spanish Town or KPH. Something along that line. To access 24-hour health service, because that was it.
And also indicate, if it is not there, that it is far better. The distance.
Are we in the report capturing the information of
That yes, we are. That was the
No,
president.
it was.
No, member Kamari. In fact, we are, because if you will recall that the presentation by the Ministry of Health and Wellness was very
clear. I am the one who asked the questions, and so I remember the responses to my questions and what I asked.
Okay. Yes, but I think it was a concern that was raised, but again, it was answered. It was answered. So that I think Member Campbell Rodriguez want to ensure that we highlighted the fact that it was captured. So just the word.
I don't have any difficulty with adding more, but I don't agree with seeking to not put what was stated as Ms. Beckford is indicating.
No. Mr. Jackson, Member Jackson, I am the one who asked those questions. I remember distinctly because
no, it is there on page 8
of the minutes from that meeting.
No, it's in the report on page 8, the presentation by the Ministry of Health and Wellness. The clerk captured that presentation, that statement.
Right.
That they indicated to the committee that no one in Portmore needs to travel more than 10 miles to have access to healthcare services.
Right. So around this section now, then instead of saying as a result, which is a negative connotation in this section, we should say nonetheless. Because as written, it implies that it's a hardship. When you say as a result, and we have to follow the nuance of the language, and as a result in this instance is a negative, it can be considered a negative, and I was asking that we replace it with nonetheless and reflect what we have on page 8 versus making it seem as though it's a problem, because it is not a problem.
Hi, sorry, good morning. Shanae Cunningham, Legislative Council. I don't know if I'm Chairman. I understand the concern of the member, but the last few lines of the paragraph go on to reiterate that. And as far as my understanding of this section is matters discussed or concerns raised by stakeholders, and there were stakeholders that raised it as a concern. So the paragraph itself, if you read it in totality to the end, balances the concerns, because you have the people that said that they have to travel to other hospitals, and then the Ministry of Health and Wellness acknowledged that they have access to the other hospitals. So the paragraph itself, I would posit, balances it out, because there were both sides of that concern. If I remember correctly, there were stakeholders, not Ministry of Health, but actual citizens who came, expressed their concern specifically about the hospital. So you can continue the discussion, but I just wanted to highlight that there was another side of the concern that was there.
I completely understand that, Mr. Chairman, but as the person who specifically asked these questions, I personally, it's subjective, yes, but I am the one who raised these issues, and I would like the report to reflect the responses we got to the issues. So it should not be where one part says something and the next part says something else, and it leaves it as a negative. No.
I think we just can insert to insert that again, that no one has to travel more than 10 miles to have access. That. And even if you wish, Member Rodriguez, to even reiterate that in other parishes, persons have to travel more miles.
To not state what was there, which was what was presented.
And it is fine. It is fine, Member Jackson. I agree with you, but we need to add in the section to show the response to that.
There's no problem with that.
Yes, so can we just ensure the distance is reiterated here, and the fact that it is closer than many other parishes have to access?
Okay, noted.
No problem.
Page 13.
Page, there's an error here that is, it's on 14.
Page 14.
Could you just explain what is it about the area that is in blue?
That was it was inserted because in the first draft, and having looked through it, that was omitted.
I have no difficulty.
15. Okay, 16. Seventeen.
In the last paragraph, Chairman, from the word further, there was concern that the parish of St. Catherine currently had 2 municipalities and 2 mayors, a situation which was not evident in any other CARICOM country. It was suggested that in order to correct these anomalies, do we want to consider it as anomalies? Because in the case of Kingston's corporate area, I don't consider it an anomaly that you have 1 municipality representing 2 parishes.
But it could be the reverse.
Say it again?
But the reverse could be true.
No, anomaly is something which is, you're concluding that inherently. In other words, you could say you should never have a municipality in Portmore in the very beginning because it's different from the rest. So the choice of the word anomaly I have a little difficulty with. And I understand what is being said, but to then deem it an anomaly.
But by definition, Member Jackson, an anomaly is a deviation from the common type or form.
Anomaly
And
when you have a
Portmore
negative.
is
And of course, you know what is the
deviation
common
from
type
the
and
common.
form in this instance, Member Jackson?
It is an anomaly by definition if we go with the true meaning of
And
the word.
of course, that was a concern of a
Anomaly
presenter.
suggests irregularities. Different. I don't. The connotation that we are attaching to it, I think, is just
No, but
superfluous
the
and unnecessary.
definition by Mr. Oxford is a deviation from the common.
And also,
rule.
it was
I won't make an issue of it, but I don't see the injury that is being
page 17.
being
We're moving to page 18.
corrected
Member
by
Jackson, come, page
address
18.
it accordingly.
Page 18. Yes, go ahead, Member.
If I might, page 18, that we're at the heading Parish Court Courthouse, I think that must be officially established in Portmore.
Where exactly are?
Top of page 18. The Judicature Resident Magistrates Act currently sets out that the 14 parishes must have a parish court. That act would have to be amended to include wording, to include a 15th parish, but the jurisdiction is delineated by parish. So I think our report should reflect.
Noted, Member. Any other?
So what that? What are we correcting to?
Should to must.
Okay.
18. Moving to 19. Page 19.
Just go a little slow.
No, we.
I don't want to capture the changes that we are agreeing on. You're at 19 now? Okay, fine. I'm clear. I think there is one little, let me just, and business.
And just for clarification, members, these were recommendations made to the committee.
Yeah, I know. Just a little small correction. On 19, the last sentence, miss, we have story, S-T-O-R-E-Y. Okay, all right. Okay.
It's okay?
Yeah, okay, fine.
Page 20.
Sorry, but on page 19, under educational institutions, There should be at least an additional 12 primary schools and 8 secondary schools and a tertiary institution in the proposed parish of Portmore. So was this a recommendation from the Ministry of Education?
Same question I have to.
Yeah, because it's sorry?
I believe that, and to be quite honest, I believe Portmore has more than enough schools, you know.
Well, my recollection from the Ministry of Education is that I think there's a shortage of one primary school.
That is my recollection as well.
So I had the same, was this from the Ministry of Education?
Yeah, because
I think
schools in Portmore is not a practical thing.
It's not even a practical thing, is whether or not,
it's not necessary. Yeah. And so I don't think this is a I don't understand, first of all, how NEPA, we choose to put NEPA's recommendation on the educational institution versus that of the Ministry of Education. So I would remove this until we can see, because education is dealt with by the Ministry of Education. And they said one school, NEPA is saying 12 primary schools. I don't even remember that. I don't even remember.
My notes here was this from the Ministry of Education?
Yeah, I don't recall this being said. And also, why would we put NEPA's recommendation versus the Ministry of Education? So can we please remove that?
I think we can insert here that clarify that this is coming from NEPA and insert
what the Ministry of Education says.
Says.
Yes, please. Because
so that we capture both. The Ministry of Education, their presentation, they are indicated.
My comment about it is that
they make a presentation?
In my many discussions with the Ministry of Education about school space need in Portmore, this never came up. I only know of the need for one primary school in Portmore.
When you can say though that we differ to the Ministry of Education.
Okay, in that regard, since we're all on the same page with this, could we just that while NEPA that which is here?
I am looking at their report. Where in it did it say 12 primary schools? In NEPA's report. I'm not.
No, but whatever it is, we could just attribute it to
no, but we have to be sure of what they were actually saying.
No, Ms. Beckford will do the research on that.
Please. May I please you, Mr. Chairman? The report of the Joint Select Committee is a report to the Parliament. It doesn't mean that the report must include every single submission statement that was given to us. We are reporting to the Parliament on our deliberations, etc. And I don't know that it's appropriate to be reporting a recommendation for NEPA in relation to schools when NEPA has no jurisdiction over schools. And I don't even, I don't recall this statement. I don't know which submission it came from. But if it is attributed to NEPA, I don't think it's appropriate for us to include it in the report.
I found it. It's on page 9 of NEPA's recommendations. And it says, based on the sheer size of the population and the proposed designation as a parish, as well as in accordance with the draft National Spatial Plan, Portmore would be operating at the level of a regional center. Therefore, the various social services would need to be upgraded and modernized. It is recommended that at least an additional 12 primary schools, 8 secondary schools, and a tertiary institution. But I don't know why we'll be listening to NEPA versus the Ministry of Education.
Let me tell you something, members.
No, take it over.
You know, it was part of NEPA's report, but in reality, it is nonsensical to even contemplate that, because if you look at the number of primary schools in Portmore and the population of Portmore, and you apply the same matrix to other parishes, I am sure that maybe St. Thomas going to need another 30 primary schools.
But Mr. Chairman, in addition, it's 5 things they listed, and we have taken only 1 to put in the report. It's 5 things they listed.
I think we can remove this matter on education institution. Then I don't think the NEPA, with all due respect, is equipped to make such a conclusion from an operational perspective. I think they're looking at it from a spatial angle. I think that is basically what, and they said it. So let us remove that. Thank you very much, Member Jacks, for that suggestion.
Campbell Rodriguez, please.
Campbell Rodriguez. Thank you very much, Member Campbell Rodriguez. Page 20.
Mr. Chairman, page 20, under services offered by the JFB. It says here there should also be the recruitment and training of an additional 289 firefighters to support the needs of Portmore. That it cannot be correct.
I think we can delete that because
289.
I'm sure the entire St. Catherine.
Maybe the whole Jamaica don't have 289?
What? 289?
Firefighters.
They said they need 289. The report is saying, because I don't know that they said it, that you need 289 firefighters to satisfy the need of Portmore. This is incorrect?
Well, I'm not going
It's here, page 20.
No, I'm not saying what is not there. But I would humbly suggest that before we make any definitive, all the staffing is done. If you have 3 stations and you have a 3-shift operation,
you're not going to need 70 per
right,
90
right.
90 per.
I would just suggest that we ask the clerk to, notwithstanding what is in the report, just call the fire service.
No, I think, Member Jackson, to save us some time, we just say that we should ensure that appropriate recruitment and training is done to support same.
Yes, I agree with that.
Yes, but that 289 is
no, we take out the number. Whatever it is, we leave it up to the relevant authority to dictate the number of personnel that they would need. We don't need to get involved.
So for Ms. Beckford's purpose, then, we would modify it to say there should also be the recruitment and training of additional firefighters to satisfy the needs of the proposed parish. So just take out the number, whatever that appropriate. I could probably say additional appropriate number of firefighters.
And also, as it relates to the additional fire engines, I think also we need to just speak just the equipment, because I'm sure that we have parishes we don't even have 6 firefighters, fire trucks, or fire engines.
No, but Mr. Chairman, what we are capturing here is what the technical people would have advised that they need. We are not saying that.
But I think it is best. I mean, they were very specific, but I think we should, in the report, indicate that the necessary support be given. To ensure that, because we know for a fact that the government will not be able to purchase all those fire trucks, 6 fire engines. New fire engines. Member, well, we have the ministerial responsibility here. Member Davis.
Mr. Chairman, good morning. It is a recommendation from the Jamaica Fire Brigade.
No, speak in the mic.
Right? It is a recommendation from the Jamaica Fire Brigade.
Yes.
They are recommending that for Portmore to offer the service for its population, this is what they are recommending. So I don't suggest we disturb it. It's their recommendation, and I think we should go by their recommendation. Because, yes, based on their own knowledge of such dense area,
remember, we are not disputing the information, but we want to give them the opportunity to be more flexible, so they can even increase the number if that is the need. You know, so we don't want to tie it down to a particular figure, that they be allowed to, dictate.
Mr. Chairman, to do that with tantamount to kind of like we're fixing the facts.
But Mr. Chairman, can I ask instead, for the point that I raised about the 289 firefighters needed only for Portmore, can I ask the clerk to just check with them?
We have moved past that.
No, we
have they in fact
so
stated that.
Okay.
So we have just rephrased it. Healthcare services, poor relief, Move on to page 21. Go ahead, Member Miller.
Sir Chair, I would like to bring you back to page 19 under the subheading water supply and sewage treatment facility. Just a grammatical error with sewage, spelled incorrectly. Yes.
Consistent. If we are writing British, we have to be consistent throughout the document. And if we are doing American English, then we have to do so. So,
definitely, Sir Chair.
This is the way the NWA is. NWC, sorry. Sewerage. Sewage.
Thanks, Sir Chair.
It speaks to the same waste.
One has to deal with what comes out of it and wants to deal with the system itself. The sewage system is different from the sewage which comes out of the sewage. Is the infrastructure itself.
Thank you very much for that clarification. So the NWC in their presentation made reference to the sewerage.
Yes, which is a specific thing. Back to the dictionary, it's the provision of drainage by sewers.
I thank you, Member Oxford. Member Rodriguez.
Yes.
Page 21, page 21, member. Page 21, members.
Conclusion? No, I have some changes because, in that section where it says, the majority of your members, I am proposing an amendment. The majority of your government members.
I no member. No, I will not. We are one. No, member. We are all here as members, not as government opposition member.
No, it's not.
So the members.
Allow
me to speak. No, allow. Member Jackson, we are all here as members of this committee, and when we say the majority of the members, we don't have to be specific. I don't think it needs to be specific that it is opposition or government. It sounds too tribal. And I'm sure, Member Jackson, that we have moved beyond being tribalistic in our approach here. So if you don't consider yourself a member and just specifically the opposition member representing only the opposition's position, is it that you want to say that it is the opposition's position?
Let me say what I want to say. The rubric that this falls under is conclusion and recommendations of the Joint Select Committee. Conclusion and recommendation of the membership. I am simply saying that in this conclusion, that there is not a concurrence of all members. And I'm simply asking, if it is not accepted, it's not accepted. And I won't make an issue out of it. I put it, and if the members don't wish for that amendment to be reflected, no problem.
Well, Member Jackson, what your concern is noted, but I believe as a committee and all of us being members of this committee, when we say that the majority, that does not mean that we did not have members who did not support, but the majority, And as I said before, I want us to move away from the separation and the tribalistic thing, this partisan thing. But I understand your point. So we will move with it as it is, the majority of members. Any other corrections? Any other corrections, members?
I have one other correction. On the attendance page, I had a word with the clerk on it for it to be amended in respect of my attendance. It says 8, and I would requesting that an asterisk be put at the end to reflect that I could only attend 9 as I was off on medical leave.
Noted. Thank you very much, Member Jackson. That's a very important one.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Marlene Aldred from the Attorney General's Chambers.
Go ahead, Ms. Aldred.
Thank Thank you. As it relates, I see on page 21 a heading changes to existing legislation and policies. I think there is something that should be included. It's not so much a change, but it is something that you would have to have regard to if you are creating a new parish, and that is in relation to the second schedule of the Constitution of Jamaica that requires that there must be at least 2 constituencies in every parish. And it does trigger a procedure under section 67 of the Constitution. I think that there should be some mention of it in the report, because that is something that has to happen to give a parish full legal status.
Noted, member. Ms. Aldred, in fact, we're going to, if we should go ahead, we are going to ensure that we more than satisfy that and have at least 3 constituencies in that new parish, if that is the wish of the Parliament to establish the 15th parish.
Mr. Chairman, that has triggered something in my mind. Should we have a 4th bullet under that point, something which says, one of the legal minds can word it, so that it doesn't just seem as though we're saying it's only those 3 things which have to be amended, because maybe when the research is done by the AG's department, there will be other things, just like how Ms. Eldridge just mentioned something that we never thought of. So we need a 4th line there saying, you know,
okay,
that gives...
I think it will be the 5th line, because we would include the suggestion by Ms. Aldred,
yes,
and to include that the necessary legislative
whichever other
amendments / changes, consequential amendments. Thank you very much, Member Jackson. To include other consequential amendments. Yes. Thank you very much, Member Jackson. And Member Campbell Rodriguez. You know, we need to give credit to the clerk, because if you look back on page 22, there will be the 3rd paragraph. Your committee therefore wishes to make the following recommendations, and the second recommendation was that all applicable legislation and policies should be amended to give effect to the recommendation for the Portmore. So it was there.
In that section, since we have a section which says that, we need to
it is needed. It is needed here as well. It is needed here as well. It is needed here as well. I am sure that the last paragraph on page 22, that only thing that members would want to do is to ensure that we include under acknowledgement all the necessary government agencies, staff members, persons who made submissions to be included here, especially the team here at the Houses of Parliament. You know, I must say that we are very grateful as a committee, especially in the midst of this pandemic. You know, we had to utilize a number of different mechanisms to get the work done. And I must commend the technical team as well as the other members of the House of Parliament, the clerk and the team here, for assisting us and as best as possible. Members, we have completed the review of the draft report, and the clerk has she have some corrections and insertions to make. AOB.
Mr. Chair, please proceed. We have made the corrections to the draft report, and at the end there are recommendations flowing from the report. I want to advise the House that the opposition will be tabling a minority report on this subject.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So Member Jackson, it has to be appended, you know.
Sir Chair.
It will be ready by next week. By next week.
Which day next week, Member Jackson? I need a specific date. Today is Tuesday, so a week from today.
A week from today.
Okay. Any other matter? Members, the report as it is, without the amended report, can I get an indication from the members if we are in agreement with the amended report? Can I have a motion for us to move by Member Davis, second by Member Campbell Rodriguez. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. AOB? So, Member Jackson, for the record, you participated in this report. You did not vote in support of it?
No. Mr. Chairman, for your information, the report, having gone through the presentation and tabulated and presented the presentation, arrive at certain conclusions, and the conclusions arrived at, we don't support all of them, and therefore we cannot support the report in its entirety.
Date of next meeting. Do we need to have a meeting, a date for next meeting? We just have to sign off on the report. Okay. Let's see if we can get this meeting done next week. Yeah. Yes. Okay. All right. And then we'll have to vote on your report as well, right? No. You don't want us to vote on the minority report from now? From now.
The parliamentary rules.
But Jackson, you don't have to. Yeah, all right, thank you very much, members. We will set the date of the next meeting and inform members accordingly. Let me again thank the team here and members for attending this meeting. And can I have a motion for us to adjourn?
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry to be that stickler today, but I've been reflecting whether or not to ask this question, but if we need to come back to these chambers for this meeting, can we please ask that anybody who is not vaccinated attend meeting online? We now have the facility for that to be facilitated, and we have to protect twofold. We have to protect our individual selves, but we also need to protect the unvaccinated. And as such, anybody who is not vaccinated, I am asking, sir, if they can be encouraged or asked specifically to attend the meetings online.
Motion for adjournment.
Mr. Chairman, please acknowledge what I have said,
sir. It is noted, member. It is noted, member.
No, Mr. Chairman, I would like to know if you will act on this suggestion.
No, we will encourage persons who are, I don't have any problem.
So, Mr. Chairman, I have your word that anybody who is unvaccinated will not be sitting in this chamber with me who take the vaccine the next time.
Member Rodriguez, while I appreciate the point you're trying to make, you know, we have to be guided if we have that authority to exclude persons.
No, we're not excluding anyone. We have a facility for online.
From attending in person.
There are no rules that they have to be here in person, Mr. Chairman.
I know, and there's no rule that states that
Mr. Chairman, if I may, in defense of my colleague on the committee, as I understand the member's plea, she was merely making a request for such members who are not vaccinated to desist from coming in person, one, and two, that the committee makes the arrangement to facilitate such members participating virtually.
I noted that, but the member wanted me to give
no, I wanted you to not dismiss me, sir. I wanted you to acknowledge what I say and tell me that it will be discussed with the clerk of the court that of the house that no member shall sit in here who is unvaccinated or anybody in here while we are in here. We must protect ourselves in this chamber. We lock up in here in air conditioning. So I'm asking, sir, please to be...
it is noted, and I appreciate Member Campbell Rodriguez, your position. And from a public health perspective, you have a very valid concern. And I will speak with the clerk and be guided accordingly.
Thank you, sir.
motion for adjournment was moved by Member Davis, seconded by Member Campbell Enriquez. Those in favor? Those against? Ayes have it. Thank you, members.